The worn sneakers with duct tape holding the sole together, the faded jeans with patches on both knees, the way my younger sister, Jenna, stood in line at the community soup kitchen on a Tuesday morning in July, holding the hand of my 7-year-old nephew, Landon, like she was afraid he'd disappear if she let go. I almost didn't recognize her. My sister, who'd been teaching 3rd grade at Riverside Elementary for 10 years, who'd bought a beautiful 3-bedroom house in the suburbs 5 years ago, who'd sent me photos just last Christmas of Landon opening presents under their decorated tree in their living room. Now she was here in downtown Baltimore in the heat of summer, waiting for a free meal. Jenna! I walked up behind her in line. She turned, and I saw it immediately. The hollow look in her eyes, the weight she'd lost, her cheekbones too sharp now, the way her shoulders hunched forward like she was trying to make herself smaller, the flash of pure terror before she tried to smile. "Talia, hi, what are you doing here?" "I volunteer here every Tuesday." I kept my voice steady, even as my heart was pounding. I'd been distributing food at this soup kitchen for 3 years since I retired from the FBI, and I'd never expected to see my own sister on the other side of the table. "What are you doing here?" She looked down at Landon, who was clinging to her leg. We needed lunch today. Kellen's between jobs and money's a little tight." Kellen? Her husband of 6 years? The man who'd seemed charming and ambitious when she'd introduced him to the family. The entrepreneur who was always working on the next big opportunity. "Where's your car?" I asked. The Honda Accord she'd been so proud of when she bought it 3 years ago. "Kellen needed it for work meetings. We took the bus." The bus? In 90-degree heat? With a 7-year-old? "Jenna, what's going on?" She glanced around nervously. "Nothing. Everything's fine. We just need to get through lunch and then we have somewhere to be." I looked at Landon. Really looked at him. His shirt was clean, but too small, like he'd outgrown it months ago, and they hadn't bought him new clothes. His hair needed cutting, and his eyes had that watchful, worried look that kids get when home isn't safe anymore. "Have you two eaten today?" I asked quietly. Jenna's eyes filled with tears. She blinked them back quickly. "We're fine, Talia. Really? Please don't make a scene." "I'm not making a scene. I'm your sister, and I'm asking when you last had a real meal." Landon tugged on her hand. "Mama, I'm hungry." Something in me broke at the sound of his small voice. "I know, baby," Jenna said softly. "We're almost at the front of the line." "No," I took her arm gently. "Come with me, both of you." "Talia, I can't. Kellen will be calling soon to check in, and if I don't answer—" "Jenna." I waited until she looked at me. "Come with me." I led them out of the soup kitchen line and to my car parked 2 blocks away. Once we were inside, with the air conditioning running and Landon buckled in the back seat, clutching the granola bars I kept in my glove compartment, I turned to my sister. "Tell me everything, right now." And finally, sitting in my car with the windows rolled up and the engine running, my younger sister started to cry. Not delicate tears, the kind of crying that comes from months of holding everything inside, the kind that shakes your whole body. I let her cry. I handed her tissues. I kept one hand on her shoulder, and I waited. After 10 minutes, she wiped her face and started talking. "We're living in our car, Talia. Have been for 3 months." "What?" "We sold our house in April, said we were underwater on the mortgage, said I'd been overspending and we couldn't afford it anymore. He showed me papers, foreclosure notices, debt statements." Her voice was hollow. I believed him. I thought it was my fault. I thought I'd ruined everything. In the back seat, Landon had fallen asleep with the granola bar strapper still in his hand. "Where's the money from the house sale?" I asked. "Kellen said it all went to pay off the debts I created." Her hands were shaking. "But Talia, I don't understand. I make $58,000 a year teaching. I've been putting money into my pension every month. I had savings. I had credit cards with 0 balances. I don't know how we could have been that much in debt."
The cold, familiar feeling of a case coming into focus settled over me. After 26 years with the FBI's Financial Crimes Unit, I knew exactly what this sounded like. "Jenna, do you have access to your bank accounts?" She shook her head. "Kellen handles all the finances. He said I was bad with money. He showed me statements where I'd spent thousands on things I don't even remember buying. Designer handbags, jewelry, trips." Her voice cracked. "I must have blacked out or something because I don't remember any of it. He said I needed to let him manage everything until I got help for my spending problem." "And you believed him?" She looked at me with desperate eyes. "Why wouldn't I? He had bank statements, Talia. My name, my signature. He was so patient about it, so understanding. He said he still loved me even though I'd almost destroyed our family financially." Gaslighting. Classic financial abuse combined with psychological manipulation. I'd seen it 100 times in fraud cases, but seeing it happen to my own sister made my blood run cold. "Where do you sleep?" "In the car. We park in different places each night so the police don't bother us. Sometimes behind the Walmart, sometimes at rest stops. Landon sleeps in the back seat and I sleep in the front." "For 3 months?" She nodded. "Kellen says we can move back in with him and his brother once I prove I can be responsible, once I show I won't spend money we don't have. He gives me $20 a week for food and necessities for Landon." $20 to feed and clothe a child while Kellen drove her car and lived in God knows where. Where is Kellen living? "With his brother, Garrett. They have an apartment somewhere. I'm not allowed to know the address because Kellen says I might show up and embarrass him in front of Garrett's friends." "What about Landon? Where does Kellen think he is during the day with you?" "I'm supposed to keep him quiet and out of sight. Kellen says if anyone finds out we're homeless, child services will take Landon away, and it'll be my fault for being a bad mother." More manipulation, more control. I felt my jaw clench. "Jenna, when did you last access your own pension account?" She blinked. "I can't. Kellen said the school district froze it because of my financial problems. He's handling it with a lawyer." "No school district freezes teacher pensions for personal debt. That's not how it works." Her face went pale. "What?" "Jenna, I think Kellen has been stealing from you. I think he's stolen your pension, your savings, your credit. I think he forged your signature and opened accounts in your name. I think he sold your house and kept the money. The papers, the statements, it can all be faked. I've seen it done 1,000 times." Landon stirred in the back seat, mumbling something about dinosaurs before settling again. Jenna grabbed my hand. "If what you're saying is true, if this is all fake, what do I do? I can't go to the police. Kellen said if I ever tried to cause trouble, he has evidence that I'm an unfit mother. He has photos of me sleeping in the car with Landon. He has documentation of me missing work. He'll take Landon away from me forever." "Jenna." I squeezed her hand back. "Listen to me very carefully. I spent 26 years as a forensic accountant with the FBI. I specialized in white-collar crime, identity theft, and financial fraud. What Kellen is doing isn't just cruel, it's a federal crime, multiple counts, and I know exactly how to prove it." She looked at me with something I hadn't seen in her face for months. Hope. "But I need you to trust me completely. Can you do that?" "What are you going to do?" I smiled. Not a nice smile. "I'm going to remind your husband that he picked the wrong family to scam." That afternoon, after I'd taken Jenna and Landon to a hotel and paid for a week's stay with strict instructions that she was not to contact Kellen, I made 5 calls. The first was to Ashton Ford, my former partner at the FBI who now worked in the white-collar crime division. "Ashton, I need a favor. Personal case. My sister's husband. Identity theft, possible pension fraud, and I think he's running something bigger. Send me what you have. I'll start pulling financials." The second call was to the Baltimore County Recorder of Deeds. "I need property records for a sale that occurred in April. Owner name Jenna Hayes.
By the end of that call, I had the deed transfer. The house had been sold for $215,000, sold to a limited liability company called KH Ventures. The third call was to my former colleague at the Social Security Administration. I need to run a trace on credit accounts opened in my sister's name in the last 2 years. The list she sent back an hour later made my hand shake. 23 credit cards, 4 personal loans, 2 auto loans, all in Jenna's name. Total debt, $74,000. My sister, who'd always been meticulous about her credit, who taught me about budgeting when we were teenagers. The fourth call was to Riverside Elementary's payroll department. I'm calling about my sister, Jenna Hayes. I have power of attorney. I need to verify her pension contributions. The woman on the phone was helpful. Records show her pension account was closed in March, full withdrawal of $42,000, signed authorization on file. My sister's entire retirement, gone. The fifth call was to Ashton again. I need surveillance. I have an address to check. LLC called KH Ventures. I want to know who's living there and what they're doing. I'll have someone on it tonight. That evening, I drove past the address listed for KH Ventures. It was Jenna's old house, the house she'd loved, where she'd planted rose bushes in the front yard and painted Landon's room blue with clouds on the ceiling. There were cars in the driveway, expensive cars, a BMW, 2 Mercedes. Through the windows, I could see lights on, people moving around. I took photos, lots of photos. At 10 that night, Ashton called. You're not going to believe this. That house? They're running illegal poker games. High stakes. We've had our eye on this operation for 2 months but couldn't get an address. Your brother-in-law and his brother are the operators. Illegal gambling. That's what Kellen needed her house for. That's where my sister's retirement money had gone. How much are we talking? Last game we tracked, over $100,000 in cash changed hands in one night. They're laundering it through various accounts. And Talia, several of those accounts are in your sister's name. She doesn't know anything about this. I believe you, but on paper she's complicit. They've been very careful to make it look like she's a willing participant. I thought about Jenna sleeping in her car, feeding Landon granola bars for dinner, believing she was a bad mother with a spending problem. Ashton, I need a full investigation. I need every transaction traced. I need proof that those signatures are forged, and I need it fast because my sister has been sleeping in her car with her 7-year-old son for 3 months while her husband steals her identity. There was a pause. Talia, if what you're telling me is true, this is bigger than financial fraud. This is child endangerment, identity theft on a massive scale, money laundering. We're talking federal charges. Good. How fast can you move? Give me 1 week. That week was the longest of my life, but I wasn't idle. I hired a private investigator to document everywhere Kellen and Garrett went. He came back with photos of them at the poker games, laughing and drinking expensive whiskey, photos of them at a country club, photos of Kellen with his arm around another woman. I contacted an attorney who specialized in family law, showed her everything. She smiled grimly and said, "Your sister will get full custody and every penny back, maybe more." I pulled Jenna's credit reports and documented every fraudulent account. I contacted each credit card company with evidence of identity theft and started the dispute process. I went to Riverside Elementary and sat down with the principal who'd known Jenna for 10 years, explained what had happened. She was horrified. We thought Jenna was just going through something personal. We had no idea. Tell her she has her job waiting when she's ready and we'll help however we can. On day 5, Ashton called. We have him. 42 counts of identity theft, 23 counts of credit fraud, multiple counts of money laundering, pension fraud, wire fraud, and because your sister and her son were living in a vehicle while he lived in luxury with stolen funds, we're adding child endangerment.
When? Tomorrow morning, 6 a.m., be at your sister's hotel. I'll need her to give a statement. What about his brother? Him too, all of it. I called Jenna. Tomorrow morning, everything changes. FBI is arresting Kellen and Garrett. You need to be ready to give a statement. Can you do that? She was quiet for a long moment. "Will Landon be okay?" "Landon will be fine. I'll watch him while you talk to the agents. But Jenna, you need to be strong tomorrow. You need to tell them everything. Can you do that?" "Yes." Her voice was stronger than I'd heard it in months. "Yes, I can do that." The next morning at 6 a.m., 2 FBI vehicles pulled up to Jenna's old house. I wasn't there to see it, but Ashton sent me the photos later. Kellen and Garrett in handcuffs being walked out of my sister's house, while 10 other people scattered. The poker table still set up in what used to be Landon's bedroom. Stacks of cash on the dining room table. Evidence everywhere. At the hotel, Jenna gave her statement to Ashton and 2 other agents. She told them everything: the gaslighting, the fake statements, the manipulation, the 3 months in the car, the $20 a week, the threats about Landon being taken away. Landon sat with me in the hotel lobby eating pancakes I'd ordered from room service and watching cartoons on my phone. When Jenna came out 2 hours later, she looked exhausted but lighter somehow, like a weight had been lifted. "What happens now?" she asked. "Now," I said, "we go get your house back, and then we make sure Kellen and Garrett never hurt anyone else again." The legal process moved faster than I expected, with federal charges, with the FBI's evidence, with Ashton's testimony about the money laundering operation. Kellen and Garrett's attorneys advised them to plead guilty. Kellen got 8 years in federal prison, Garrett got 5 and full restitution requirements. The house was returned to Jenna's name. The sale was voided as part of a fraudulent transaction. Every credit card was cleared from her record as confirmed identity theft. Her pension was reimbursed by court order from Kellen's family assets. The $215,000 from the house sale recovered from various accounts, plus another $130,000 in poker game profits that were seized and awarded to Jenna as restitution. By September, Jenna and Landon moved back into their house. She'd taken a month off from school to recover, then returned to her classroom. Her principal gave her a standing ovation on her first day back. Kellen's girlfriend vanished the moment he was arrested. Apparently, she'd been running her own scam on him. Garrett's friends, most of them were arrested too. The poker ring had been operating for 18 months. 1 year later, on a bright Saturday in July, we threw Landon a birthday party in Jenna's backyard, the same backyard where she'd planted those rose bushes 5 years ago. They'd survived and were blooming bright red. Landon ran around with his school friends, 8 years old now, wearing a superhero cape and carrying a toy FBI badge I'd given him. Jenna came and stood next to me by the grill where her new boyfriend, a nice teacher from the middle school, was cooking burgers. "Thank you," she said quietly, "for everything. For not giving up on me. You're my sister. That's what we do." She watched Landon playing, laughing, being a normal kid again. You know what the hardest part was? Not the sleeping in the car, not even the hunger. It was believing him when he said it was my fault, believing I'd done something wrong. "You didn't do anything wrong. He was a predator. He found someone kind and trusting, and he exploited that. But you survived, and more than that, you fought back. Only because you fought for me first." Landon came running over, his face sticky with cake frosting. Aunt Talia, can you tell everyone the story about how the FBI arrested Dad?" Jenna and I looked at each other. She smiled, a real smile that reached her eyes. "Maybe when you're older, buddy, but yeah, someday I'll tell you about how we caught the bad guys." He cheered and ran off to play. Jenna put her arm around me. "You know what I learned through all this? Family isn't just about being related, it's about who shows up when everything falls apart." I squeezed her shoulder. "And you showed up too. You protected Landon. You survived. You were stronger than you knew."
The afternoon sun filtered through the oak tree in her yard, casting dancing shadows on the grass. Music played from a speaker. Kids laughed. Adults talked and ate and enjoyed a normal summer day. And somewhere, in a federal prison in West Virginia, Kellen Hayes was learning that actions have consequences, that you can't destroy someone's life without eventually paying the price. But here, in this backyard, with the blooming roses and the birthday cake and the sound of my nephew's laughter, justice felt like more than just punishment. It felt like healing, like rebuilding, like coming home. Landon ran past with 2 of his friends, cape flying behind him. When he grew up, would he remember sleeping in the car? Probably. Would he remember being scared? Maybe, but I hoped what he'd remember most was this: the family that fought for him, the mother who survived for him, the people who showed up and refused to let him fall through the cracks. Jenna's boyfriend brought over a plate of burgers. "You ladies want to eat before the kids demolish everything?" Jenna laughed, a real, genuine laugh. "Definitely." As we sat down at the picnic table, Landon climbed into Jenna's lap, even though he was getting too big for it. "Mama," he said, "this is the best birthday ever." She hugged him tight, and over his head her eyes met mine. "Thank you," she mouthed. I nodded, because that's what family does. We fight, we protect, we refuse to give up on each other. And sometimes, when you're very lucky, you have an ex-FBI forensic accountant for a sister who knows exactly how to take down a con artist. Kellen had thought he was so clever, forging signatures, manipulating accounts, gaslighting his wife into thinking she was the problem. He'd thought he could get away with it because Jenna was kind, trusting, and isolated. He'd forgotten one crucial thing: Jenna wasn't alone. She had family. And family, real family, doesn't let you suffer in silence. The party wound down as the sun started to set. Parents collected their tired, sugared-up kids. Landon's new best friend promised to come over next weekend to play. After everyone left, after Landon had gone to bed, exhausted but happy, Jenna and I sat on her porch drinking iced tea in the warm summer evening. "Do you think I'll ever stop looking over my shoulder?" she asked, waiting for the other shoe to drop. "Probably not right away. Trauma doesn't heal on a schedule, but it will get better. Therapy will help, time will help, and knowing he's locked up will help." She nodded slowly. "I still have nightmares sometimes, that Landon and I are back in the car, that Kellen comes and takes him away, that I lose everything again. Those are just nightmares. The reality is that you're here in your house with your son safe upstairs. Kellen is in prison. Garrett is in prison. You won. You survived. You're rebuilding." "We won," she corrected. "You won. I was just trying to survive. You're the one who fought back." I squeezed her hand. "You fought back too. Every day you got up and took care of Landon. Every day you survived. That was fighting back. Don't discount your own strength." She wiped her eyes. "I just keep thinking about all those other women out there going through what I went through, believing they're the problem, sleeping in cars with their kids, being told they're crazy or irresponsible. Who's fighting for them?" "Good question. Maybe you could." "What do you mean?" "You're a teacher. You're a survivor. You have a powerful story. Maybe, someday, when you're ready, you could help other women recognize the signs, help them get out before it gets as bad as it got for you." Jenna looked thoughtful. "Maybe. Not yet, but maybe someday." We sat in comfortable silence, listening to the crickets and the distant sound of traffic. A year ago, my sister had been standing in line at a soup kitchen, broken and afraid. Now she was home, safe, building a new life. It wasn't perfect. She still had hard days. Landon still had nightmares. The scars from what Kellen did would take years to fully heal, but they were healing together, surrounded by people who loved them. And that, I thought, was what mattered. Not revenge, not punishment, not even justice, though justice had its place. What mattered was love, family, showing up, fighting for each other. Everything else was just details.